Just like how Subway's got the beef, we this week got the Vegapunk message. Welcome in, guys, to One Piece chapter 1113. My name is Sai, and today we are here to go over that final bullet point, because it's a big one. We've been waiting weeks to hear what Vegapunk has to say, and in this chapter, we get his opening line. And I'll say it right here, but it's something that would shock the world. So Vegapunk tells us that very soon, the world will sink into the ocean. All right, so this is something that we, as readers of One Piece, already saw coming from miles away. We have the Noah's Ark, we have Water 7 being a floating city, we have the Red Line of Marie Joie, and then we have the events of Leloucia, which literally caused water levels to rise. We saw this coming. But here's the thing. The world of One Piece did not see this coming, right? The civilians of the world had no idea that any of this was happening. But today, Vegapunk is waking people up, and now, I want to see the fallout. I want to see how the world of One Piece will react to this news. And keep in mind, this is just the opener. There's going to be more to this message that'll just make it even more absurd to the world. And like I said, now I'm just wondering what the fallout of this message will be. So going straight to the civilians, because I feel like that's where everybody's going to go. But the civilians, obviously, they're not going to be too happy about it, especially if Vegapunk manages to tie in the world government to this flood or sinkage. We're not exactly too sure how the world is going to sink down. Will it actually crumble and fall apart, or will the water levels just rise so high that everybody won't have any land to stand on? We're not exactly super sure yet. But yeah, if you're a civilian in the world of One Piece, you'd be absolutely panicking right now. And I know some people will say, oh, why would they believe Vegapunk? Well, it's because 1, he's the world's smartest man, 2, because you probably heard or seen his inventions before, and 3, because the world government literally assassinated this guy, right? In a way, that adds validity to his claims, because the world government wouldn't want you to know about this. So it's like, oh, you know, like, would I believe Vegapunk? Maybe he's just throwing a fit. Oh, he got assassinated? Well, isn't that odd? So yeah, I do believe that the world of One Piece will trust Vegapunk's words here. There's so much backing him up, it's kind of ridiculous. And not to mention, since the world government just recently got rid of Leloucia, the water levels have also been rising. So even if they don't outright trust Vegapunk, you can just look outside, you know what I mean? Like, look outside. You'll see that the water levels are rising. You'll see monsoons and waves crashing on your island, and hell, we've already seen one island succumb to the ocean, right? Sharks are now living in the town. Like, it is that crazy. So yeah, even if they don't believe in Vegapunk, the proof is literally right outside their window. So coming into this message, I wasn't super sure what to expect, right? There's a lot of different options on the table. Void Century, world government, Emu. Like, Oda could have went so many different routes, and he still can, right? This is just the opener. But I wasn't expecting Vegapunk to drop an apocalyptic event on the world, because this changes so many things. Because how I see it is that an apocalyptic event, in comparison to just Void Century information, actually forces people to take action. Like, imagine this. If Vegapunk were to say, hey, the Void Century happened, the ancient kingdom's name is, you know, dog food, right? Like, I don't know, I just made that up. But if he drops the ancient kingdom name, that will only move a certain group of people. If Vegapunk tells us about the Void Century, yeah, people will probably be in an uprising, but I guarantee you there will be some people in the world who kind of won't care, or at least they'll just go about their daily lives. Whereas an apocalyptic event kind of forces everyone to take action, right? Like, if you're sitting at home and they say, hey, the world is ending, the world is gonna sink into the ocean, it's like, holy crap, we gotta do something, right? If it's about the Void Century, it's like, oh, that's crazy information. Yeah. So how's that coffee, right? Like, people will just go along their business if it's just about the Void Century. Some people will take action, but not everybody will. But when it comes to an apocalyptic event, everyone has to move. We now have to leave our island. We now have to find a new way to survive. And I think that is key, because now I'm wondering how the world is going to react. We know how the civilians will react, right? You'll have civilians wanting to fight the world government, and you'll also have people scrambling to take shelter somewhere. But as far as the rest of the world goes, what's going to happen? How will pirates react? How will Shanks, Blackbeard, or Buggy react, right? Because, you know, Buggy Shanks, Luffy, they want to become king of the pirates. Blackbeard wants to be king of the world. If the world is gone, that doesn't mean anything, right? This actively gets in the way of Blackbeard's goal. This gets in the way of the king of the pirates goal. And hell, I don't want to bring back a dead horse and beat it, but Big Mom, this would get in the way of Big Mom's goal, because Big Mom wants to create a country where everybody can live. Well, you can't have a country if the world is sinking. You know what I mean? Like, everyone will be affected negatively by this. So if Vegapunk somehow ties all of these events and ties the world sinking to the world government, we could get a massive pirate alliance. It would be like Thanos popping in. Yeah, we all have our differences, but if there's some fool over here trying to end the world, we kind of have to work together to make sure the world doesn't end, or at least make sure that we survive and that there's a future to take a hold of. Yeah, dude, this message, I think it's really effective. Yeah, I think this might be better than just straight up dropping only Ancient Kingdom lore. Yeah, because this will get everybody to move. And speaking of people moving, I'm really curious to see how the Marines will react. Because the Marines are protectors of the world government, you know? The Marines actively help the world government. They're two separate factions, but now that the world government is being painted in a negative light, now that we're learning that the world government might destroy the world, will the Marines just go along with it? As a Marine, how do you continue to defend the world government? Because I think it's impossible. Right? It's one thing to let celestial dragons, to let slavery and all the bad things they do slide, right? They do that because they hope that world peace will somehow be achieved. You know, they hope that, oh, the world government knows what's best. We have to help them out, right? That's just how it is. But as a Marine, once you learn that the world government is possibly responsible for the end of the world, it's like, okay, time to turn on these guys, right? Because the Marines, at the end of the day, they have their families, they have islands they care about. If it turns out that the world government is actively hurting that, there's no reason to work for them anymore, right? Fujitora isn't going to work for him. Kobe's not going to work for him. Even Akainu, who is already disrespectful to the elders, probably won't have it either. So yeah, I think this is going to be a massive PR slam against the world government. And this is something that probably wouldn't have been the outcome if the information Vegapunk dropped was just about the Void Century, right? Because the Void Century news, yes, that would be really shocking, but as far as the Marines go, it's kind of like a drop in the bucket when you compare it to the Great Flood or, you know, the island sinking. So yeah, I think a lot of Marines are going to feel betrayed by the world government, even more so than they already feel. So yeah, I think this is going to cause just a massive uprising in general. The rise of Sword even, I'm not too sure. And I also bet a lot of the Marines here on Egghead Island will feel really silly, right? Like they took down the one man trying to spit the truth. Yeah, man, I'm really curious. I want to see what these Marines are going to do now. Like, I wouldn't be super shocked if fodder Marines start turning their guns against the Gorosei. Blasphemous, I know. They're not going to do much, right? A gun against Saturn. Okay, come on. But I think the act of them being defiant in and of itself will be massive. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is how will people survive through island sinking in this great flood? Because I do think there are a lot of very plausible routes, and I feel like a lot of people are already talking about this as well. But the most obvious one we have is Noah's Ark. It is a giant boat, and biblically, it's supposed to carry people through the Great Flood. So if Shirahoshi were to hop on the Noah's Ark and bring the Sea Kings with her, I think they could just travel around the world and pick everybody up. That wouldn't be super crazy, and it wouldn't even take that much time either. Because you have to remember, the Sea Kings are fast. They're big, they're fast, and they also have access to the Calm Belt. So they can easily zip-zap around the world and just gather all of humanity. I'm not too sure what the end goal would be, because of course they kind of do need land at the end of the day. So maybe we relocate to the Red Line, or maybe they just wait for the water levels to go back down. Another route I could see them going is the Water 7 route, because Iceberg wants to create a floating city, right? He wants a city that does not sink. So maybe Iceberg expands this city. Maybe he makes it a utopia for everybody in the world to show up to, and that is how we survive. I would argue that is kind of rough though, considering the fact that Water 7, while it is big, it's not exactly big enough to host every single country, you know what I mean? So it's either Iceberg has to expand Water 7 a lot, or maybe he starts sharing his craftsmanship with other countries out there. Because just imagine if, you know, Iceberg sends Polly or the Frankie family to one island, and they start making every island into a floating island. I think that'd be pretty big. Not exactly plausible, because even right now, we don't know if Iceberg has succeeded yet. So that could take a lot of time that they just straight up do not have. But yeah, I think Water 7 will be really important. Of course, a lot of people believe that as well. And the last route I could see us going in terms of surviving would be utilizing Sky Islands, right? Sky Islands already exist. We could just go up to the clouds. Granted, that would be really hard, but we do have to remember that we have Witheria. Witheria is a sky island that is floating on a balloon. Who's to say we don't just start passing balloons out and we just live in the clouds? In my opinion, it would be kind of a cursed existence, knowing that you can never go back on dry land again. But hey, at least you'd survive through this debacle. But yeah, I think there are a lot of ways for the world of One Piece to get through this event. And through this event, I think we will all unite against the world government. And I'm loving it, man. It's not a plot point I expected to happen. You know, when I thought of Vegapunk's message, I immediately went to Void Century. But Vegapunk going the apocalyptic route, I think is best for the world. No, I think this would actually unite pirates, revolutionaries, civilians all together against the world government. Because as it stands right now, the world government would be the only people who would survive this great flood because they live atop of the red line, right? Like, the red line is the only safe place in the world because it's so high up. So yeah, I think people aren't going to be happy about it, and I think it would be really cool if we destroyed the red line and brought the celestial dragons down to our level so that they have to suffer through the great flood with us. I don't know, man. I think Oda's absolutely cooking with this. And you know what? I am pleasantly surprised by Vegapunk's message, and there is more to come. You know, I keep on saying it, but this is just the opening line. We could get more about the Void Century, Ibu, just so much lore. And yeah, that's enough rambling for now. Let me know what you guys think about this chapter down below. What do you think is going to come out of this? How do you think the world of One Piece is going to survive? Do you think Marines would actually turn against the world government? Do you think they're just going to still stay loyal? Personally, I think some will stay loyal, but I think some will try to separate at this point. There's no way they all act as one and say, yes, world government, please kill my hometown. You know what I mean? There's no way. Dragon got a lot of free PR from Vegapunk. Shout outs to Dragon and the Revolutionaries. Pirates is another one I'm super curious about, right? Like, you know, Blackbeard, Shanks, Luffy, Buggy, like, surely they're gonna do something about this. Oh man, I'm just super excited. I feel like a kid on Christmas. I'm ready to see everybody's reaction, you know what I mean? But yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. I'll catch you guys later. Sai, signing out.